Imagine winning every single game you ever played, for 12 years straight, except the stakes were literal empires. Alexander the Great started conquering the world at age 20 and died without ever tasting defeat. He marched 11,000 miles, built 70 cities, and changed the map of the world forever before he even turned 33. But how did a guy who was the age of a college student manage to crush the most powerful empire on Earth? Welcome to History Bites, where we take the wildest, weirdest, most jaw-dropping moments in history and explain them fast. If you love the kind of history that sounds impossible but actually happened, that is us. Subscribe. Go back to 336 BC. This is over 2,300 years before your great-grandparents were born. Alexander is 20 years old, living in Macedonia, a kingdom in northern Greece. Imagine your father is the most successful person you know, and then someone eliminates him, leaving you with his job, his debts, and his massive army. That is exactly what happens to Alexander. His father, Philip II, is assassinated at a wedding. Most 20-year-olds worry about passing a test. Alexander worries about keeping his head and his crown. Here's the part nobody puts in textbooks. Everyone expected him to fail. His enemies think he is a kid they can bully. They are about to find out how wrong they are. Alexander is not a typical teenager. His tutor is Aristotle, one of the smartest people to ever live. Think of it like having the world's greatest philosopher as your personal private coach every single day. He learns logic, science, and how to outthink everyone else. When he is 12, he tames a horse named Bucephalus that no one else can ride. He realizes the horse is terrified of its own shadow, so he turns it toward the sun. Stop and think about that for a second. While other kids are playing, he is using logic to master a beast. This horse stays with him for almost his entire life, through every battle, across thousands of miles. By the time he becomes king, he does not want to rule Macedonia. He wants to rule everything. In 334 BC, Alexander crosses into Asia with about 35,000 soldiers. That is roughly the size of a large football stadium crowd, but they are going up against an empire with millions of people. Most people don't know this part. Alexander is the first one off the boat. He throws a spear into the sand and claims all of Asia as his won by the spear. He heads to a city called Gordium, where there is a legendary knot. The legend says whoever unties it will rule Asia. It is a mess of rope so tangled no one can find the ends. Alexander does not waste time trying to pick it apart. He draws his sword and chops it in half. And the craziest thing, it actually worked. He did not follow the rules, he changed the game. Now this is where history gets genuinely strange. Alexander goes up against Darius III, the great king of Persia. Persia is the superpower of the day. They have more money, more men, and chariots with sharp blades on the wheels. At the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC, Alexander is outnumbered at least 5-1. Imagine your school's basketball team going up against 5 professional teams at the same time. Alexander does not run. He waits for a tiny gap in the Persian line and leads a wedge of cavalry straight at the face of Darius III. The Persian king panics and flees. In an instant, the biggest empire in the world belongs to a 25-year-old. Here is a curious fact. Vikings didn't actually have horns on their helmets, and Alexander did not wear a crown with points on it. He often wore a lion's skin to look like a hero from the myths. Alexander keeps going. He marches through deserts, over the snowy Hindu Kush mountains, and into India. His soldiers are tired. They have been away from home for 8 years. Imagine going to summer camp and not coming home until you have graduated high school. That is what it felt like for them. In India, he faces war elephants. Imagine a tank that is alive, screaming, and trying to step on you. Alexander wins again, but his men finally say no. They want to go home. For the first time in his life, Alexander has to listen to someone else. He turns back, but he does not take the easy way. He marches through the Jedrosian Desert, one of the hottest places on Earth. Thousands of his people die from the heat, not from a sword. In 323 BC, Alexander is in Babylon. He is 32 years old and planning an invasion of Arabia. Suddenly, he gets a fever. Within 12 days, he is dead. There are no clear heirs. On his deathbed, his generals ask who should get the empire. He reportedly whispers to the strongest. Imagine being alive when this happened. The entire known world lost its leader, and he tells his friends to fight for it. His body does not decay for 6 days, which makes people think he is a god. Modern doctors think he might have actually been paralyzed and still alive when they started the funeral process. And here's where it gets really wild. His empire is immediately torn apart by his generals, and the world is never the same again. Alexander changed everything. He spread Greek culture from Italy to India. He founded cities like Alexandria in Egypt that are still huge today. He showed that one person with enough drive could change the shape of the entire planet in a single decade. History is full of moments that sound impossible, but every single one of them actually happened. That's what makes it better than fiction. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. We post every week, and every video will teach you something your history teacher hasn't mentioned yet. And drop your answer in the comments. If you were one of Alexander's soldiers, would you have kept marching into India or demanded to go home? Alexander the Great conquered the world, but he could not conquer time.